Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. Today I want to share with you a correction. A couple of weeks ago, we reported that the Lake City ammo plant had canceled its civilian contracts. A few days ago, though, the Lake City Facebook account posted they have not changed their policy or canceled any commercial contracts. The Lake City Army ammunition plant is owned by the U.S. government and is operated by Olin Winchester. It is the largest supplier of small arms ammo for the DoD, but it also produces about 1/3 of all 5.56 ammo on the commercial market. No word on how the rumor got started, but our report was based on an article from Staple Defense, and they have issued a correction as well. However it got started, the cost per round for 5.56 has more or less doubled over the last week, so somebody is making an absolute killing right now. What do you think? Is it possible someone in the industry started the rumor on purpose to kick off some panic buying?
I'm rich, biatch!
Who's to say? While you consider that, consider it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors, so let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by Vault Pro, proudly manufacturing the finest American-made safes, vault doors, safe rooms, and storm shelters. And by Double Black. Double Black's all-American-made 17.4 stainless slides feature aggressive front and rear slide serrations, optics cut, match-grade tolerances, and signature slide cuts exposing the barrel for that customized look. And by Springfield Armory. Their new striker-fired Echelon pistol has a modular fire control group and a nifty universal mounting solution which will accommodate virtually any micro red dot. Authoritarian police state enthusiasts like this News Karen 5000 model aren't exactly known for their stunning intellect. I mean, most of them don't even bother with a journalism degree these days, instead opting for the easier major in communications. And if they could do math with their shoes on, they probably would choose a more productive career. But this is just flat embarrassing.
In 1992, AR-15s composed roughly 21 in every 100 firearms made in the U.S. By 2020, almost 1 in 5 guns made here were AR-15s.
Let me do the math here.
For those of you playing along with the home game, 21% and 20% are functionally equivalent when it comes to statistics like that. Since she was trying to make the point that ARs were very rare back in the 90s, though, I just want to point out that 1 in 5 is actually a just slightly smaller ratio than 21 in 100.
So, you're dumb.
But she's also dumb because she has no idea that in attempting to prove ARs are in common use now, she makes it legally harder to ban them. But what would you expect from the smartest Miss America? She is right, of course, that ARs are far more commonly owned now than they were back when the new kids on the block were hanging tough with Arsenio Hall.
There's nothing that we can do at this point but to say, ladies and gentlemen,
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
She's just wrong about the how and the why of it and doesn't understand how their popularity is the very reason she can't get rid of them. Cope and seethe, Gretchen. The temporary restraining order preventing ATF from enforcing their pistol brace rule is now permanent. Federal Judge Drew Tipton ruled that because the GOA was likely to win their case on the merits, because the plaintiffs would be at risk of significant harm if the ATF was allowed to enforce their rule, and because the ATF would not experience any real harm if they were prevented from enforcing that rule they made up, he would extend the restraining order until the case is decided. Technically, the restraining order only protects the plaintiffs and their families, as well as GOA members and their families. But seeing as how the ATF has no access to GOA membership records, some experts are saying the rule is functionally unenforceable against anyone. That said, if you want something a little more solid than YouTube guy said smart people think I'm safe, may I suggest you scrape together $25 and go to donate.gunowners.org/join to buy a GOA membership? I mean, come on. You were just going to spend that money on a Punisher skull ejection port cover anyway. FBI Director Christopher Wray testified to the Senate Homeland Security Committee that the threat of terrorism against Americans is at a whole other level.
The ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level.
Never.
That sounds pretty serious, so I checked the DHS website and it turns out whole nova is actually the highest level of alert, above severe, actually. Given the serious nature of this threat, naturally the director admonished Americans to be constantly vigilant, armed, and well-trained. I'm just kidding. He didn't say anything whatsoever about what regular folks can do to mitigate that threat. He didn't go quite so far as to pass a hat around the room asking for donations, but I got the distinct impression we would all be much safer if Congress would just give him more money. Well, folks, if you live in Illinois, you're running out of time to ignore Governor J.B. Pritzker's new Salty Boy ban. The deadline to register your guns under the new law is the first of the year, and to date, over 2,400 people have registered theirs. If that sounds like it's really not actually a lot of folks, that's because it isn't. There are almost 2.5 million gun owners in the state of Illinois, and based on national sales averages, most of them are likely to have at least one firearm which has been declared naughty in the eyes of the state. So we're looking at a compliance rate in the neighborhood of about 0.1%. And every week, fewer people register their guns. Should you register yours? No, you should not. As you good folk know full well, the only reason an authoritarian like Jabba the Prick wants a list of gun owners is so he can confiscate your guns later. And, of course, the only reason someone has to take arms from peaceable people like you is because they intend to do something they couldn't get away with if you were armed. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic or hypothetical, they are already tipping their hand. In a particularly self-defeating move, control freaks in the Illinois legislature have already proposed legislation to confiscate those guns which were already registered. I mean, I think it would make more sense to try and trick as many people into registering as you can before you pull the rug out from under them, but here they are telling you exactly what they plan to do if you're dumb enough to register. Of course, I'm not telling you to break the law. If I did that, it would violate YouTube terms of service and might arguably be breaking the law myself. So I'm not going to tell you what you should do instead of registering those guns, but you should not register. Whether or not you live in Illinois, I want to urge you to donate to the Second Amendment Defense and Education Coalition, who is leading the legal fight against this infringement. It takes a whole herd of freshly fed and watered lawyers to get things done. So please go to sadec.org and give generously.
Gundustry News.
If you're into clone builds, our friends at Brownells have the perfect scope to top off your 607 build. The Colt 4x20 Retro Scope features 4-power magnification, simple duplex reticle, bullet drop compensating elevation turret, integral carry handle mount, and that old school straight body that has all the drip. It's made in Japan by the same company that made the original Colt scope and prominently features the Colt branding as well. Price is $400 and it's available right now at Brownells. Now for your moment of zen. Hey friends, do you like pews and other pew-related things? Do you want to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American pew propaganda at the low, low price of free fitting? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.